Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Report, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Let's look at some of the stocks on the move today in Europe. I'm Lizzie Burden with Stephen Carroll, and we're joined by Bloomberg reporter Chloe Melly. Chloe, I'm looking at SAP shares down 10.8%. It's a dramatic downturn. This is the most valuable software company in Europe. How did it get here?
Yeah, it's a very, very bad day for SAP. So the reason why it's down so much today is because the growth in its cloud backlog disappointed investors quite a lot and was below the company's target. And so that's a big problem given that the cloud business is absolutely essential to SAP's strategy. And the CEO started this pivot a few years ago, back in 2020, from selling software licenses that clients would operate on local servers to offering software subscriptions that were in the cloud directly. So that was a move that investors were really keen on at first, and the share price actually hit a record last year on the back of that. But now there are some concerns around the potentially negative impact of artificial intelligence on that strategy. There's worries that AI-powered tools can potentially displace what enterprise software companies like SAP can actually offer. And SAP is trying to kind of get ahead of this and offer customers AI applications in the cloud. But then, the disruption from new entrants into the market is still a threat. And this disappointing cloud growth, backlog was taken as very, very disappointing from investors. And despite the fact that it also announced a 10 billion euro buyback, the shares are still way down. So that really tells you the extent of how disappointed investors were, because usually buybacks get them quite excited.
Yeah, indeed. And in case anyone's a bit bemused by the term cloud backlog, this is services essentially that they have contracted and sold but not yet recognised as revenue. So it's the indicator, as you say, Chloe, of the revenue that will come down the line from cloud for the company. So that's why it's getting so much focus today. But I want to turn next to STMicro's results, beating estimates. How are investors receiving them?
Yeah, it seems that so software with SAP is not doing too well, but then the hardware part of that tech market is. So STMicro is a supplier of chips for Tesla and Apple, and then also to industrial companies and car makers. And its outlook for sales in the first quarter was ahead of expectations, and that was seen as a sign that there's a potential recovery in those end markets. And this also echoes the results that we got from Texas Instruments, which is a company over in the US, which also reported this week and also provides those chips mostly to customers that are not AI customers, so industrial, automotive, personal electronics clients. And so the outlook for the first quarter from that company was also surprisingly good. And so this indicates that those customers in industrial end markets, automotive end markets, have started to work through the massive inventory that they'd accumulated post-pandemic and are starting to buy again and invest again. So it seems that chip demand is picking up beyond AI, although it's still worth noting that the auto sector is still a little bit weaker, but it is quite encouraging for the sector as a whole.
Now, Chloe, Deutsche shares are down 2.8%. Deutsche Bank out with earnings this morning, but it seems they've been overshadowed by that raid on them.
Yeah, so at first glance, it looks really positive for Deutsche Bank. As you said, there's strong earnings, really solid fixed income trading, a 1 billion euro buyback. But the problem is that, as you said, the results were overshadowed by this raid on the Deutsche Bank offices, which happened just yesterday. And this is a probe that is around money laundering. It's said to be centered around the past dealings of staff members with firms that were linked to Roman Abramovich, who is now sanctioned. And so this is really a fresh headache for the CEO. And it's not the only kind of legal challenge that he is facing at the moment. There's also another lawsuit which was filed by a group of former managers that alleged that they were wrongfully blamed in an accounting scandal at Montepaschi. So there's a few different challenges that Deutsche Bank is facing, and those are taking center stage now. And unfortunately for the bank, the great results that it posted were just maybe not enough to make investors forget about those legal headaches coming down the line.
The Stock Movers Report from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.